Millionaire John Sterling, 34, heir to Sterling Enterprises, a crumbling New York empire, was staring down the barrel of ruin, wealth, status, influence, all teetering on the brink. A tense showdown with his father, Robert Sterling, in their opulent penthouse overlooking Central Park, set the stage. "John, you have to do this. It's the only way to save the company." Robert's voice was steel, laced with desperation. His solution? An arranged marriage with Sarah Alayan, daughter of a Saudi Arabian oil tycoon. John recoiled. "Marriage isn't a bailout, Dad. I'm not some pawn." Indignation flared, but the looming shadow of debt, the jobs at stake, gnawed at him. Robert's relentless pressure sparked a war within John. Modern man versus family legacy. This wasn't just a deal, it was a plunge into the unknown. Sarah Alayan, a whisper of a name, a veiled photo, graceful, reserved, discreet. But who was she really? Why would she agree to this? Then came the financial tremors. John unearthed anomalies in Sterling Enterprises' books, deeper cracks than he'd imagined. Fraud. The word echoed like a death knell, threatening to drag the Sterling name through the mud. The stakes skyrocketed. John felt the vice tightening. He caved. The decision felt like a betrayal, a surrender of his very soul. But the weight of generations, the specter of bankruptcy, it was crushing. "For the company," he told Robert, his voice hollow. "For our name, not for me." He signed the pact, a cold, sterile agreement binding two families, two worlds. The engagement party was a spectacle, a dizzying blend of cultures in a glitzy Manhattan ballroom. Crystal chandeliers blazed, Eastern motifs shimmered in gold. Sarah, the bride-to-be, arrived veiled, an enigma in silk and jewels. When John's eyes finally met hers, he was jolted. Her gaze wasn't of love or even hope. It was resignation. "She's trapped too," a flicker of empathy sparked within him. Days blurred into a formal dance of dinners and events. Sarah was politeness personified, yet always distant, her words measured, guarded. John sensed a hidden weight, a secret she clutched close. Meanwhile, Sterling Enterprises spiraled. John buried himself in the financial wreckage, desperate for another way out, any escape from this gilded cage. But the deeper he dug, the more glaring the discrepancies became. Who was behind it? Robert seemed to know more than he let on, deflecting every question with a dismissive wave. Then the rumor hit. Aisha had her own reasons for this marriage. Whispers circulated: protection, a family member in danger, an unspecified threat. The tension crackled, another layer of mystery shrouding Sarah. John needed answers. He invited her to his penthouse. A private dinner, no families, no pretense. "If we're doing this," he said, cutting through the formality, "we need honesty." But what Sarah revealed that night was just the first ripple in a tidal wave of truth. The pressure mounted, sleepless nights, a maelstrom of conflicting emotions. John, a man of principle, a man who'd always scorned backroom deals, found himself cornered. Sterling Enterprises, his family's legacy, was crumbling. "For the company," he repeated, a mantra against the nausea, "for the legacy." He signed. The contract was stark, brutal. John Sterling to marry Sarah Alayan. A merger of families, a flood of Saudi money into Sterling Enterprises. Marriage as a transaction. The thought tasted like ash. "A contract, not a marriage," he muttered, the clauses blurring before his eyes. Escape was an illusion. The engagement was a fairy tale for the cameras. The ballroom glittered, guests dripping in designer labels and Eastern finery. Gold silk draped the walls, live music, a bittersweet melody. Then Sarah entered, a vision in embroidered silk, radiating a serene, almost untouchable beauty. Her face was veiled, adding to the mystique. John, meeting her for the first time, was struck by her eyes. Intense, a blend of calm and profound sadness. Trapped, he thought again, a pang of understanding. The ceremony was a blur of formalities. John barely registered the speeches, the forced smiles. His mind raced. Who is she? Why this marriage? Is she as trapped as I am? Questions echoed as applause erupted, sealing the engagement. In the days that followed, Sarah was a ghost in his life. Present at gatherings, corporate events, yet emotionally walled off. Conversations were clipped, polite, each word carefully weighed, an invisible barrier deepening the unease. Sterling Enterprises worsened. John dove into the company's financials, unearthing a nightmare. Discrepancies, manipulations, far worse than Robert had admitted. Financial reports were doctored, losses concealed. A scandal loomed, threatening to explode. He confronted Robert. Dad, what's going on? Robert deflected, waved it away. The marriage will fix it, John. Trust me, everything will be fine. But John saw the evasion in his eyes, the lie behind the reassurances. He didn't trust him. Then came the whispers about Sarah. A friend, in hushed tones, hinted, "It's bigger than an arranged marriage, John. Heard she's protecting someone. Family, maybe a brother." A seed of suspicion, then curiosity bloomed. Sarah, fighting her own battles, he saw her differently. He invited her to dinner at his penthouse. Just them. "We need to be honest," he said, the formality cracking. Sarah looked at him, a flicker of something in her eyes. Trust? "You're right," she said, her voice soft but firm. "There are things you need to know." What she revealed was just the tip of the iceberg. Sarah confessed her family was facing a crisis, forcing her hand. "I didn't choose this, John, but people depend on me. I can't let them fall." Her voice trembled with emotion. For the first time, John saw a reflection of himself, both trapped, pawns in a family game. But Sarah held back, shadows still clinging to her story. Why the secrecy? What else is she hiding? He felt more questions than answers. Their dinner was a crack in the wall between them, but the mystery remained. This marriage was far more than a business deal. The days after their dinner were a whirlwind. John, used to concrete answers, was adrift in a sea of questions. Sarah's secrets, her hidden burden haunted him. Time was a luxury Sterling Enterprises couldn't afford. Creditors circled, employees were restless, the media sniffed blood. Robert retreated further, offering empty reassurances. "Trust the process, John. Almost there." John saw through the charade. He took control. He hired an independent auditor. The results were catastrophic. Numbers worse than imagined. Evidence of systematic manipulation. Losses concealed. Suspicious transactions. Someone inside was orchestrating a massive cover-up. His suspicion solidified. Something rotten at the core. His relationship with Sarah shifted subtly. Still distant, but cracks were appearing in her ice facade. At a corporate event, amidst forced smiles and champagne flutes, John found her alone, gazing out a window, detached from the glittering spectacle. "Feels like a prison, doesn't it?" he asked softly. Sarah turned, surprise and understanding in her eyes. "More than you know," she replied, her voice barely a whisper. A shared vulnerability, a fragile connection forming. He saw beyond the veiled bride, a woman with her own story, her own secrets, her own fears. But the mystery persisted. What was she protecting? The answer arrived unexpectedly. A rainy morning, a plain envelope for Sarah, no return address. John watched as she hesitated, then opened it. Her face shifted, a flicker of fear in her eyes. He approached. She quickly tucked the letter away. "Something wrong?" John asked, concern etched in his voice. "Nothing." Sarah's smile was forced, unconvincing. Unease hung in the air. Later, John decided to find his own answers. Pressuring Sarah would backfire. He needed to understand. He called Victor, a private investigator, a man he trusted. "I need to know about her family," John explained. "Something she's not telling me. I can't help her blind." Victor began his discreet investigation. John turned his focus back to Sterling Enterprises. Confrontation with Robert was inevitable. The meeting was charged. John slammed the auditor's report on the desk. "You knew, all along." Robert initially deflected, then crumbled under John's relentless gaze. "Yes," he admitted, his voice low. "I knew. I did what I had to do. For the company. Don't think I enjoy this, John. Survival. Sometimes it's ugly." The revelation shook John, but fueled his resolve. He couldn't trust anyone, not even his own father. Days later, Victor returned. His findings were explosive. Sarah's family was imploding, her father, Kamal Alayan, embroiled in a vicious power struggle with distant relatives challenging his leadership. Rumors swirled, Sarah a pawn, a bargaining chip in political and business games. This explained the arranged marriage, but deepened the mystery. Her true role? Victor slid a copy of a letter across the table. Sarah's letter. The words were chilling. "If you fail, everyone will pay the price." Who sent it? What did it mean? Confrontation with Sarah was unavoidable. "I know you're in something deep," John said, his voice direct. "I want to help, but you have to trust me." Sarah hesitated, torn. Finally, she spoke, her voice strained. "Things you wouldn't understand, John. Bigger than us." Cryptic, evasive, John's determination hardened. This was more than a marriage, more than a business deal. Sarah's mystery, Sterling Enterprises' dark secrets, a chessboard of power, secrets, sacrifices. And he was just starting to learn the rules. John was determined to unravel Sarah's secrets, but each revelation deepened the labyrinth. He realized they were both caught in a game far grander than they knew, a game of power, secrets, and brutal sacrifices. Investigating Sterling Enterprises' finances, a new threat emerged: public scandal. The auditor's report revealed manipulated records concealing suspicious transactions with international partners. Exposure meant bankruptcy, reputation annihilation, criminal charges. Chaos reigned. Then Victor, the investigator, delivered a bombshell. The letter Sarah received was from Hakim, a ruthless cousin of her family, a longtime rival of Kamal Alayan. Hakim was using Sarah as a pawn, threatening to shatter her family unless she met his demands. "Deeper than an arranged marriage, John," Victor said, pushing the letter copy across the table. "She's a shield. The marriage, part of a plan to protect Kamal's position." John felt the weight crush him. He had to confront Sarah, but something held him back. Anger, compassion, an inexplicable connection. He needed answers, but he wanted her trust. That evening, in the penthouse garden, a secluded oasis, John found Sarah, veiled, exhausted. He sat beside her, silence stretched. "I know you're protecting your family," he finally said, his voice gentle, "like my father did to me, but I need to understand." Sarah avoided his gaze, then, "You think I wanted this? Choice? Never had one, John. My father, this deal. To save us from Hakim. He wants everything. If I don't play his game, he'll destroy us." She paused, breath hitching. "There's more? Another reason for this marriage." She stopped, words choked. John's heart pounded. "Trust me, Sarah, we'll figure it out." Tears welled in her eyes. "Not just my family. I'm protecting someone I love, my brother. Hakim controls him. If I fail, Hakim will use him against me." The revelation hit John like a physical blow. Not just families, not just power plays. Personal. He saw the raw pain in her eyes, finally understood. "That's how he controls you?" John asked, voice tight. "Threatens your brother?" Sarah nodded, voice shaking. "If I fail, he takes everything. My brother, my family. Everything left. I couldn't risk it." New information, a new level of danger. John was in deeper than he knew. Breaking the engagement, exposing Sterling Enterprises, it would endanger Sarah. For the first time, they were united, not pawns, but allies in a desperate fight. "I'll help you," John said, taking her hand. "We'll get through this." Footsteps broke the silence. "Victor, urgent." "John, you need to see this." Victor handed him a dossier, a secret link between Hakim and Robert, his father. Not just a player, but complicit. Robert was benefiting from Hakim's threats, securing the Alayan investment. The game changed again. Impossible decision. Confront Robert, risk everything, or play along, find a way to outmaneuver Hakim, free Sarah. The pieces were shifting, truth still elusive. John closed the dossier, hands trembling. Robert's betrayal. The man he admired, a manipulator, complicit in endangering Sarah and her family. Shock, then cold fury. He had to act carefully. Revealed too soon, everything crumbles. That night, John shared the dossier with Sarah. Penthouse office, documents scattered, piecing together the puzzle. Sarah, shaken yet focused. "Explains so much," she murmured, pointing to financial transfers between Robert and Hakim. "Suspected more than my father let on." "But your father?" Dangerous ground. Confront Robert without a plan? No. Protect Sarah's brother, Hakim's leverage. "First, your brother's safety," John said. "Without him, Hakim loses his grip." Sarah agreed, but fear flickered. Hakim's unpredictable. Wrong move. Family in danger. John made an unexpected alliance. Camille, Hakim's former associate, a shrewd, resourceful woman who'd cut ties years ago. Discreet, capable. Camille saw Hakim's weaknesses. Brilliant, but arrogant, overconfident, underestimates those he controls. Camille's plan: track Hakim's illegal funds, expose him to international authorities, cripple him financially, politically. Meanwhile, John and Sarah would secure Kareem's escape route. John prepared for Robert. Confrontation inevitable. He gathered evidence with Camille and Victor. Private communications, Robert and Hakim negotiating the arranged marriage, Robert allowing Hakim to use Sarah. Devastation. "My father, sacrificed everything for money. He won't get away with this, John told Sarah, voice cold. Camille's plan in motion. International investigation launched. John and Sarah prepared to rescue Kareem. Tension at breaking point. No turning back. Freedom for all depended on precision, courage. Operation Rescue Kareem, destabilize Hakim, underway. Calculated steps, any mistake catastrophic. John, fully committed, worked with Camille and Victor, defying odds. Step 1, locate Kareem. Hakim, master manipulator, kept Kareem hidden, constant surveillance. Camille's Dubai contacts. Kareem held at an isolated villa outside the city. Luxury, armed guards. Hakim's confidential meetings there too. Strategic location. Not easy to get in, Victor said, studying maps. Distraction, advantage. More than plan, needed courage, trust. Sarah, direct involvement, unsafe, John said, concern etched on his face. Kareem's my brother, Sarah's voice resolute. Can't stand by. Plan, distraction. Camille contacted Hakim's rival, informant pretense, valuable intel. Hakim scheduled urgent meeting at villa, diverting security. Victor and John infiltrated, bribed employee, less guarded entry. Villa infiltration, tense. Kareem locked room, upper floor, 2 guards. Neutralized guards silently. Time critical. Hakim's meeting downstairs, noise fatal, door opened. Kareem, frightened, relieved. Sarah sent me, John said calmly. Kareem, hesitant, then trust. Followed them out. Sarah waited, Camille monitoring remotely, heart racing. News, Kareem safe. Relief washed over Sarah, tears streaming. Thank you, she whispered, hope flickering. Part 2, bring Hakim down. Camille's evidence, John's complaint to international authorities. Hakim's illegal activities exposed. Money laundering, extortion. Investigation gained momentum, Camille's allies, John's documentation. Hakim, losing control, fought back. Threats to Sarah, John, too late. Authorities raided villa. Documents, assets seized. Hakim's empire crumbling. Confrontation unexpected. Hakim, before custody, contacted John, face-to-face meeting. Think you won? Not over. Menacing. John, calm. You underestimated people. Greed, your downfall, Hakim. Pay for everything. Hakim taken away. Reign over. Relief, satisfaction, exhaustion washed over John. Battle won. Emotional toll heavy. Kareem safe. Sarah breathed again. Thank you, John, she said. Courage, determination. You did it, John corrected. I just helped. Their relationship transformed. Arranged marriage, prison, became something profound. Partners facing impossible together. But something had to be done about Robert. Exposing Hakim meant Robert's involvement would surface. John decided to wait. One final matter before Robert, his relationship with Sarah. Hakim gone, Kareem safe. John and Sarah found fragile peace. Emotional toll, consequences lingered. No turning back. Rebuild lives, scarred by intrigue, sacrifice, betrayal, Sarah's priority, Kareem's new life, safety. London, discreet location, Alayan family friends caring for him. Painful separation, necessary. Chance to be free, Sarah confided. Live without expectations I carried. John promised to protect Kareem, keep him far from corruption. John returned to Sterling Enterprises, renewed purpose. Undeniable proof of Robert's Hakim alliance, Robert's betrayal stung, but John approached strategically. Emergency board meeting, financial irregularities, Robert's involvement exposed. Not to destroy my father, John said, but his actions risked everything. Different path, transparency, accountability. Board, torn loyalty, company survival, voted to remove Robert, CEO. John appointed successor. Tough decision, necessary. Save company, restore reputation. Robert, initially furious, admitted mistakes. You did what needed to be done, Robert conceded. Rare humility. Better leader than I was. John took helm of Sterling Enterprises. He and Sarah explored their relationship beyond the arranged marriage. No longer trapped pawns, but partners. Shared journey, pain, sacrifice, redemption. Penthouse garden, evening walk. Sarah, John finally spoke. We started beyond our control. Everything's changed, not trapped. Want to leave? I'll understand. Sarah stopped, looked at him. Gratitude, something deeper in her eyes. John never had choices, defined by others' wants. Now, choice. If you ask, I'd choose to stay. New beginning. Contract between families became real connection, trust, respect. John, valuing freedom, found true freedom with Sarah. Rebuilding wasn't easy. Sarah, using experience, connections, started initiative for women, forced choices, traditions, family expectations. John's financial support, Alayan family influence, project gained momentum, powerful force for equality, freedom. John transformed Sterling Enterprises, ethical, sustainable practices, reputation rebuilding, corporate social responsibility policy, community projects, sustainable practices, skepticism from board, short-term profits. John stood firm. Survive, show world we learned, not just money, doing what's right. Ethical approach attracted investors, aligned values, capital influx, accelerated recovery. John's vision saved Sterling Enterprises, set new industry standard. Sarah expanded women's initiative, Kareem's help, international support network, education, training, job opportunities. Partnership between John and Sarah reflected in professional initiatives. Combined Sterling Enterprises resources, Sarah's network, greater impact, strengthened bond. Strangers, forced marriage, became allies, fighting together, reclaiming control. John, initially prison, saw Sarah as someone to share dreams, struggles. Pepsi-Cola. William, initially prison, saw Aisha as someone to share dreams, struggles. Rebuilding wasn't easy. Aisha decided to use her experiences and the connections she had made to start an initiative to help women in similar situations. Women who had been forced to give up their dreams in the name of traditions and family expectations. With financial support from William and the influence of the Alayan family, the project quickly gained momentum, becoming a powerful force in the fight for equality and freedom. Meanwhile, William worked on transforming Carter Enterprises, focusing on ethical and sustainable practices. He knew that restoring public trust in the company would take more than words. It would require concrete actions. Under his leadership, the company began investing in initiatives that promoted social responsibility, earning the market's respect and rebuilding its reputation. Months passed, and life gradually began to stabilize. Aisha and William, now true partners, not only survived the challenges they had faced, but also found a way to thrive together. On a special evening during a trip to Paris, William surprised Aisha with a proposal. Aisha, our marriage started as an arrangement, but everything we've been through has shown me that you're so much more than I could have imagined. I want to build a future with you, not out of obligation, but because I can't imagine my life without you. Will you stay with me for real this time? With tears in her eyes, Aisha smiled and replied, "Yes, William, for the first time, yes." This new chapter in their lives was marked by deliberate choices and a mutual commitment to create something meaningful. The journey they had traveled was painful and filled with obstacles, but what they found at the end was something neither of them had expected, a genuine connection built from the ashes of their struggles. After months of personal and professional rebuilding, William and Aisha entered a new phase of their lives. What began as an arranged marriage had evolved into a true partnership, but their journey was far from over. The scars of the past lingered, and redefining their family relationships and business responsibilities presented new challenges that would test their strength and resilience once again. Robert, who had been removed from Sterling Enterprises, still lived in the family penthouse, but his role within the family dynamic had changed dramatically. Once the dominant and unquestionable figure, he now watched from the sidelines as William took control of the company and redefined the values that shaped the Sterling legacy. "You've done a good job," he admitted during a rare moment of vulnerability. "Better than I expected." Although the relationship between father and son was far from fully reconciled, there was a growing sense of mutual respect. William knew Robert had made serious mistakes, but he also saw that the man who once seemed inflexible was, in his own way, trying to make amends. "I can't forget what you did," William said during an honest conversation, "but maybe we can find a way forward, this time with honesty." Meanwhile, Aisha faced changes within her own family. The downfall of Hakim and Kareem's rescue had restored some balance to the Alayan family, but the emotional scars left by her cousin's betrayals and manipulations ran deep. Her father, Kamal, sought to reconnect with her, offering apologies for putting her in such a difficult position. "I thought I was protecting you," he said with regretful eyes, "but I see now that I only hurt you more." Though still wounded, Aisha chose to give him a second chance. "I forgive you, father, but things have to change. I don't want Kareem or anyone else in our family to go through what I did." This conversation marked a turning point for the Alayan family, who began adopting a more collaborative and transparent approach to their business and familial relationships. On the business front, William faced mounting challenges. Sterling Enterprises, now under his leadership, was slowly recovering, but the damage to the company's reputation was still evident. To speed up the rebuilding process, William implemented a corporate social responsibility policy, investing in projects that benefited local communities and promoting sustainable practices. The idea was met with skepticism by some board members who preferred to focus on short-term profits, but William stood firm. "If we're going to survive, we need to show the world that we've learned from our mistakes. This isn't just about money, it's about doing what's right." This ethical approach began attracting investors who aligned with the company's new values, bringing in capital that accelerated its recovery. William's vision for Sterling Enterprises not only helped save the business, but also set a new standard within the industry. Aisha, on the other hand, expanded her initiative to support women in vulnerable situations. With Kareem's help, now safe and starting to forge his own path, she established an international support network that provided education, training, and job opportunities for women forced to abandon their dreams due to cultural and societal pressures. The partnership between William and Aisha was also reflected in their professional initiatives. They often collaborated on projects that combined the resources of Sterling Enterprises with Aisha's support network, creating an even greater impact. This collaboration further strengthened their bond, proving that together they were stronger apart. Despite their progress, new challenges continued to arise. The media, which had closely followed the downfall of Hakim and the financial scandals involving the Sterling and Alayan families, began speculating about the true nature of William and Aisha's relationship. Rumors and conspiracy theories flooded the tabloids, putting pressure on the couple. "Do you think this will ever stop?" Aisha asked one evening as they reviewed the latest sensationalized articles about their lives. William held her hand and replied, "People will always talk, but what matters is what we're building together. No one can take that away from us." This perspective helped them face the criticism and stay focused on what truly mattered, the future they were creating. One day, Kareem, who had started working at an NGO supported by Aisha, shared an ambitious idea with her and William. "What if we created a program that brought together young people from different cultures to solve global problems like climate change or inequality?" The proposal was bold but deeply resonated with them, and they immediately began exploring ways to make it a reality. This new project not only expanded the reach of the initiatives they were already leading, but also symbolized the union of their stories and values. It was a reminder that even in the midst of chaos and challenges, something meaningful and beautiful could emerge. William and Aisha's marriage, which had started as a prison, began to view Aisha as someone he could share his dreams and struggles with. Let me know if you want me to continue the story.